Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us for lunch. I'm CIMA's president, Eric Hubry, and before I get started, I'm actually going to ask our VP of Philanthropy, Lynn Fink, to come up and talk briefly about a program that we are doing with Chili's and Off the Street Club. So, Lynn, why don't you come up and fill us in on that?
Thank you. Hi. I'm sure many of you are from OMD and Weber Shandwick and many of the agencies in Chicago that support Off the Street Club, right? Favorite charity? So we have a special thing going on that we helped arrange to support Off the Street Club for this summer. It's actually a promotion with Chili's, and it starts now. You'll see it on Facebook, and we're also shooting out the information on Twitter. Those announcements are being made today. And basically, when you go to Chili's and you order anything you want, 15% of your pre-tax sales are going to be donated to Off the Street Club. So we're excited. And what makes this happen, though, is you need to show a graphic image that has the code on it. So I have it on my phone. You probably can't see it. We had done this a couple weeks ago. The new one is in color, and it has the appropriate dates on, but that code is what is critical. That's what goes into their point-of-sale system, and that's what directs the money to Off the Street Club. So I know you know the club story. You know the need is there. It's going to be a hot summer, and statistically, the hotter it is, the more dangerous it is. And where these funds are going to send kids to camp out in the Wheaton area. It's a designated off-the-street club camp. They can swim, they can ride horses, they can relax. They don't have to worry about gang members coming after them. And $500 sends one kid to camp for the entire summer. So if you guys like margaritas, you like burgers, salads, every Chili's in the state of Illinois, except for the airport Chili's, is participating. So if you guys can do it, we'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn. It really is incredible what Off the Street Club is doing. It always resonates with me when they talk about the kids getting to experience casual joy at Off the Street Club, at the summer camp, and with the other programs that they're doing. So thank you, Lynn, and thank you, everyone, for going to Chili's this summer and getting a margarita there. So for the event today, I'm very pleased to have you all here to discuss a topic that is near and dear to all of our hearts here in the industry, the ongoing evolution of social content strategy. We call it ongoing because it's ever-changing. The landscape is constantly evolving and evolving rapidly. You've got new platforms, you've got new applications, you have new themes, memes, metrics, everything. The whole list goes on. You guys know it. If you look back 5 years ago, 2 Harvard students were laughed out of a classroom when they presented their Periscope app idea. And if you fast forward to today, Snapchat, formerly known as Peekaboo, what did I say? I think Peekaboo. They just closed a deal with NBC Olympics and will be the first third-party property to show Olympics coverage from NBC, the first time ever. So obviously, it is a place, social media is where advertisers want to be. And it makes sense because it's fun, it's creative, and if you do it right, it's incredibly memorable and impactful. So the question for today is, how do you do that? How do you do it right? And that's what our group is going to help us understand today, help us understand it a little better. And it is a fantastic group. As you can see on the screen here, we've got Stacy Schultz from Purina, Jeff Miller from Gatorade, and Lauren Knight from Fairlife. They are living and breathing social media for their brands every day, and they're going to share some of their ideas and how they bring those ideas to life. Paul Josephson from Thrillist Media Group and Greg Narain from Shoot are going to help us round out the conversation and understand how everybody in this industry plays an important role in executing on that social content strategy and making it a successful endeavor. And here they are. Hi, guys. Welcome to the stage. I am very excited. Oh, I can't forget, Hassan Ali from Onion Media Labs is also here with us. He's going to be moderating the conversation and keeping us on track and focused. So that's the group here. I'm really excited to hear what they have to say, and I'm sure all of you are too, so I need to get off stage. Before I do, I have 3 quick things. First thing, thank you to our sponsor, Rhythm One. We can't do these events without sponsors. Please, yes, let's give them a hand. Really appreciate your partnership. They have a report out, and I'm going to butcher the name. Let me try to remember it. It's the full 2015 year Influencer Benchmarks Report. That's it. You guys should all check it out. It's very relevant to the topic at hand today and a very good read. So thank you again, Rhythm One. Number 2, thank you to our volunteers and our board of directors. Putting together this event is no small task, and we can't do it without you guys. So thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. Let's give them a hand. Thank you. And lastly, check out the upcoming events. Golf is sold out, but sponsorships can get you a foursome, so you can still get in on that. Contact our sponsorships for that information. Boat Cruise is in August. It's the Friday before Air and Water Show. It's going to be amazing. The awards ceremony is coming up. Awards are open to enter submissions now, so do that before the deadline. August 19th is that deadline. Holiday party is going to be here before you know it. So keep an eye on the website for those events opening up. And yeah, and I think that's it. So I'm going to hand it off to you guys. Hassan, why don't you kick us off?
Hello, hello. Can everyone hear me? Okay, great. Welcome to sunny Cannes, France, everyone. Isn't it great? Oh man, all the yacht parties, they were so fantastic, so fantastic. Can everyone hear me okay? Is that cool? Okay. How many of you guys have colleagues in Cannes right now? Yes, I know. But we're gonna have just as much fun, if not more. We don't have Pitbull and Diddy with us, but it'll still be a lot of fun. Let me just go down the line and have the panelists, these awesome panelists, introduce themselves, starting with Lauren.
Hi, everybody. My name is Lauren Knight. I'm the Community Engagement Manager for Fairlife. We're a milk company that has 3 brands, Fairlife Milk, Core Power Protein Milkshake, and Yup Flavored Milk.
Hi, guys. I'm Stacy Schultz. I am the lead community manager at Nestle Purina. We are a dog and cat food and treat and litter company. And I handle execution of social strategies, leading content and engagement for 6 of our brands.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jeff Miller. I am the Director of Digital Strategy for Gatorade. And I hear that the CIMA holiday party is just like Cannes, but with more rosé and a lot more scandal.
Yes. But it's not in international waters, so you can't get away with as much yet. Yeah.
If you go to the middle of the lake, right? It's,
Yeah, in the middle of the lake is fine. Yeah.
I'm Greg Narain. I'm the co-founder and CTO of Shoot. We're an enterprise user-generated content platform.
Cool. Hey, everybody. My name is Paul Josephson. I run the branded content studio at Thrillist Media Group, which has been around for about 10 years now and is focused on providing the greatest, lifestyle for everybody out there between food, drink, travel, tech, gear, gadgets, everything you can ever want to do in life.
And hey, everyone. My name is Hassan Ali. I'm the Creative Marketing Director at Onion Inc., parent company of The Onion, Clickhole, AV Club, greatest media empire on the face of the planet. And really want to thank CIMA for having me and for having all of us here. But the point of this discussion is collaboration and creating amazing work on social media. And I was, a couple months ago, obviously, was watching the Super Bowl like everyone in America. And so as you can tell, I'm a 15-year-old Snapchat user, right? And I've just been addicted to Snapchat as it comes with the territory, it comes with the job of having to know how these young people do things. And I was addicted to Snapchat during the Super Bowl, and I got these amazing snaps of people getting, the filters on Snapchat? I got these amazing snaps of people getting the trademark Gatorade orange bucket dumped on their heads during the Super Bowl. And lo and behold, I find out that the person in charge of making that happen is here. Jeff, do you want to explain how that came to happen and kind of the collaborative process that ended up making that happen?
Sure, absolutely. So it was one of those really funny things. We had our Snapchat partnership team and one of their head strategy people in town. We went out to get drinks. They started talking about sponsored lenses, and they had done a couple early on with some entertainment properties, but none of them had really popped yet and had a clear purpose to the timing and a native integration. So we were just chatting casually, and unbeknownst to us, VML, our agency in Kansas City, had similar types of conversations. So it's one of those great examples of where a really great idea just kind of popped up in parallel. So it was very serendipitous for us, where we said, well, what if we, during the Super Bowl, give everybody the opportunity to get dunked with the Gatorade cooler? It's something that felt incredibly authentic. We talk a lot about marketing in the moment at the speed of sport. So it would be more resonant then than any other time of the year. It was something that was with the sponsored lens AR capabilities, something that was natively integrated, and it was something, most importantly, that was very authentic to our brand. So we came up with this idea. It had a handshake agreement, immediately went to work with VML and Snapchat's internal creative team. Resolution Media worked out the specifics of the buy itself. Because we thought this was an opportunity where we thought we could really get something that was mutually beneficial to us and Snapchat, we were able to negotiate a really compelling rate for the day itself. And then as we launched, we made sure that we had a cohesive approach to earned media as well as the actual experience. So Snapchat and our earned media team and Fleischman Hillard all working in tandem to really make this thing pop. So I have a short video. Ron, if you ready to play it, just to show the results of the work itself.
Each year, Gatorade crowns the champions of the Super Bowl with the iconic Gatorade dunk. It's the ultimate symbol of victory, viewed by millions, but only experienced by a few. This year, we not only wanted to let every fan see the dunk, but experience it for themselves. So we created an augmented reality experience that leveraged the native lens functionality and facial recognition of Snapchat. With no media support, the Snapchat Gatorade dunk went live the day of the Super Bowl and quickly spread across all social channels. And just like big game broadcast spots, soon celebrities, dogs, and even babies got in on the action. And by the time the real Gatorade dunk happened at the end of the Super Bowl, our augmented dunk surpassed the 114 million views of the game. With over 165 million views and 15 million unique interactions at nearly 30 seconds each, it was the biggest ad of the Super Bowl. And it never even appeared on TV.
So we're just really proud of this execution. Credit to the agency teams and just digging in, working directly with Snapchat. There was no ego at all when a lot of the work was actually being produced in-house with Snapchat. And the results for us as a brand, being able to have our core target, be able to interact with the Gatorade in a really fun way, something that wasn't feeling like we were pushing the brand on them. It's just something that was a cool experience for that day. It really spoke volumes to the type of response we got, and we're starting to see some of that recognition of our agencies, even in Cannes and with the Sports Clios this week.
Great. And so shifting from the brand side to maybe the more publisher side, like Thrillist. So we have an example of everyone coming to the table with the same idea in terms of collaborating on an idea like the bucket dump. We're talking about for Thrillist. I imagine that there are times where a brand comes to you and you're like, okay, why are you coming to us? You're totally wanting us to violate our voice that our readers have entrusted for years. How do you end up meeting in the middle for something like that?
It's a great question. I think for us, it always comes back to an integrity with an audience, right? And saying things that you actually mean. And when you're challenged on it, because social media, you will be challenged by people, you can look them in the eye and say it's true. And so Thrillist has built their brand on that. We've built our branded content studio and approach that way. And I think that the opportunities arise more often than not to have an honest conversation with brands about the right way to do it. That's not the Thrillist right way to do it, but it puts the consumer and the audience first. And then you're creating things that people will actually want. And when you're doing that, everybody benefits. And so that's really our approach. And what we found, and we had this conversation kind of behind closed doors before, that a lot of times that conversation is subjective, right? And it often feels like editorial teams just being sort of dicks, right? Like they're just like, oh, well, this is the way we want to do it, and so on. Research actually gets you past that. And so what we've been focused on for the past 3 years is actually having unbiased third-party, objective research measuring. And what we've learned is when you have an authentic conversation, you can move the needle for a brand in a far greater way than just the distribution of branded media assets. But it's that research that's actually allowed us to get past those conversations and to actually build a trust. And so once the trust is built, people will actively engage with the branded content studios and the people building creative to have an authentic conversation with the audience and on each platform. The way you connect with somebody on Snapchat is fundamentally different than Facebook and so on and so forth. And I think for me too, like I'm most curious even here from the brands, like how are you approaching that by channel, you know?
Yeah, as far as on social, I mean, I have a little bias. I work with Lauren in terms of with Lauren's company, Fairlife, and which is a parent company of Yup, which you should all drink. It's an amazing chocolate milk. It's delicious. And I'm not being facetious. I literally do believe it's one of the best chocolate milks out there. And but we work with them we're the content studio for Yup. And as far as looking at non-traditional things like Snapchat, you said it just now. It was an ad that never ran on TV, which is a traditional way of marketing, and still got amazing engagement. How, Lauren, do you feel? And this is all just trying to shop for compliments. How do you feel in terms of collaboration, in terms of creating stuff for social? Are there any tricks that maybe people might benefit from in terms of collaborating on things on non-traditional media?
Well, I have to say, so Yup is a new brand. We're just starting to get out there, and we knew from the start that what we wanted to do with the resources that we had was to really focus on social as the platform for building that awareness. Like TV and traditional media just wasn't the right fit for us. Social was where the conversation was taking place, and that's where we wanted to be. So when I started working with Fairlife and with Yup was about when we started our relationship with Onion Labs. And it's really been a collaborative effort to figure out what this brand sounds like and then sort of subversive ways to really get it out there. And a lot of it's just been playing with things that are fun, that people might enjoy, that aren't so brand heavy that they just are looking at a brand that they don't know yet. What we've done instead is build a personality. And The Onion has had a huge role in that. Hassan has had a huge role in that. And we've really made some fun things that get personality and what Yup believes in out there before we really introduce people to the product itself, which has been good.
Talking about personality, we were talking, Stacey, about how Purina has an interesting situation where people love dogs, right? What was the quote? I won't say the quote. You said it yourself. People love dogs, but they may not necessarily love like dog food necessarily.
Oh, right. So in pet, everyone, it's kind of a blessing and a curse to be in pet food.
Right.
Everyone loves puppies and kittens, and you see everyone from, AB to car brands putting dogs in their ads. So everyone, they achieve breakthrough, they achieve interest, they pique interest, but if people don't know it came from your brand, it really doesn't matter that they saw it. It doesn't matter that it piqued their interest. It doesn't matter that it broke through. So we always have the challenge of people love dogs, for instance, but they don't love to see dog food. You can't make people's mouth water by featuring your product. You can't make people excited by featuring your product. But if you don't feature your product and you use the one tool you have, which is pet, to make people's mouth water and make people so excited and make people feel that warm, fuzzy emotional connection without your product, then you've lost. So we always have that constant struggle of making sure we break through and we kind of use that benefit that we have to its utmost potential. But we don't forget who we are and that we're actually trying to sell a product at the end of the day. And you look at some of our collaborations with BuzzFeed, for instance, which is a partner that we've worked with many times, and you see things like Dear Kitten and Puppyhood that are amazing and works of art by the BuzzFeed team, no question. But it's always been a struggle for us to make sure, people know Dear Kitten. Do they know that was selling Tidy Cats litter? Do they know Puppyhood was selling puppy chow? So, it's a constant struggle back and forth to make sure people realize that we are a brand we're selling at the end of the day, and making sure that, with BuzzFeed, for instance, it's, they have a reputation to keep up, they have a quality to keep up, they have a brand to keep up, but we also have bottom lines to impact, and that's why we're getting the budget to work with BuzzFeed, and that's why we've chosen this partner. And to Paul's point, I think we've also worked with them to kind of push them, and they've pushed us to really get measurement around it, where it's data, it's not personal, it takes it out of it. And in our first foray with BuzzFeed, we didn't have that. We were just saying, we got 1 million views and we're very happy about it. And we paid for those 1 million views and you gave them to us. And sometimes, with Dear Kitten, you gave us 2.5 million more because it was such great quality done by the BuzzFeed team. So for us, it's been, we get those 2 million views, then what? So now we've partnered with third-party measurement studios too, like Nielsen, and Millward Brown and Google and things, and YouTube, to really, and Facebook actually, to put measurement behind it too, and they can kind of show us, okay, I know you guys want your packaging in it the entire time, or I know you want your logo in it the entire time, but look, it actually did lift your brand recall metrics. Yeah. It actually did lift awareness, it did lift purchase intent, and then it kind of makes that conversation quite a bit easier. Both for us and for BuzzFeed. It makes us feel confident in our partnership. It makes them not have to compromise their brand. So I think that third-party measurement that's basing it on data, basing it on facts, and something you can't really argue has really helped.
I think one of the most interesting things about all of this, though, is that publishers by nature have been protective of their brand. But what you're seeing is the new pipelines between Facebook, Snapchat, and even Google are actually becoming protectors of the consumer. Right? And they are making sure that the messages put out in front of people are authentic. They're putting very stringent guidelines on when you can advertise and how you can advertise and what your inclusions can look like and how it's disclosed to people. And so it all comes back to not being cute, right? Not trying to break the rules, because the pipelines are actually controlling that, and they're calling us on that, right? And when we can just build things that people will actually want, the Gatorade example being a perfect example of that. It's no longer about creating one very, very expensive 30-second spot. It's about creating 30 million individual, that's an excessive number, by the way, but a lot of smaller, more nimble activations that people can actually engage with by platform, and brands have the right to have conversations. Brands will always be a product and have a product to sell. Publishers will always know publishing, but those worlds are coming together, and it's not about brands necessarily being the publisher, but it's about brands going beyond the products that they sell to have conversations with people.
So there's definitely the brand and the publisher and the voices trying to meet in the middle. Greg, I don't honestly envy your position because not only do you have your own brand as far as working at Shoot, and not only are you working with your own brand and then a client's brand, but you're also working with a third X factor like influencers.
Yeah.
And hashtag buzzword, first buzzword of the event right there, influencers. How do you reconcile those three parties and have everyone come together and play nicely together?
Yeah, I think it's there's a real challenge with. I think to your point, we certainly hear that a lot from our brand customers, and we often have to get them to bubble out into the halo to understand that, it's easy with the dog, it's clear, right? It's the dog, but it's the lifestyle, it's the kids, it's all the other things that are connected to that thing. And I think with the measurement, we're actually able to prove and understand and see that value is being created. But I do think sometimes it is too much attention on the specifics of the mark, potentially invading sort of the unit as opposed to winning the hearts first, right? And social is all about hearts, right? The more it looks branded, the more it fails to sort of scale, right? We do a lot of work here with this Aperture. It's one of the things that we talk about at Shoot. And it's sort of 8 points of view on how to create content, but it's an audience sort of consumer-centric point of view, because as much as the brand wants to be successful, they're only successful if they create value for the consumer, right? And that value is measurable in lots of ways that are not usually and directly convertible, right? I think social's bad rap has always been it's sort of this blind spot, right? Put time and energy and money into it, but we don't always get to measure how effective it is. And I think we're seeing that change. We deal specifically with user-generated content in a lot of ways, and trust me, if you want to see brands really lose themselves, it's show them how people actually use their products, right? Show them how people care about them. And the funny thing is, We talk about this idea of like the quality prism, which is that if the brand cannot use that always for understanding if something is valuable, suddenly you'll see that content actually, despite the fact that we wish it was like in 4K and 360 and had our logo perfectly in there, and there wasn't a bottle of Jack Daniels sitting next to that bag of dog food, for people that's okay, right? And they're gonna get used to that, they're gonna like that. And those moments are reaching and scaling in ways that we actually can't artificially create.
That's great. I think that's something that's like the best example is something like Netflix and chill, like that idea of a thing that you can't plan that virality with a $5 million Spike Jonze directed commercial. Like you can't plan that. It just occurs and it happens, and it's like the greatest or like whatever natural advertising that exists out there. But let's say you're not like a huge multi-conglomerate, unlimited budget. You have like unlimited budgets of a Fortune 500 company. One of the things I'm always curious about is how you can do something, whether you're a startup or just want to think scrappily about your budget, how you can come up with a social campaign or a collaborative idea that still delivers on something. And I think a big example is something like Ice Bucket Challenge, which was super amazingly executed, amazingly viral. And who knows if they thought that it was going to go viral, but what are some things, and I'm kind of looking in your direction, Stacy, where you are able to create something that was, I don't want to say scrappy, but lean, and still able to create something cool and collaborative?
You can say scrappy.
Scrappy, yes.
We're scrappy. We're not ashamed of it.
Yeah.
So we have about 16 brands, I think, in Purina, and about 3 years ago, we brought one of them in-house for social activation, and that's the team I started with. We started with Beggin, and now we have 12. So part of our brands are still socials activated by outside agencies like VML and agencies that everyone's really well aware of. But my team actually is super scrappy. We're an in-house team. We have a community manager and a designer that's in charge of creating all of the content. And we have limited budgets. We still are a very traditional company that puts a lot of money in traditional media, and paid social is slowly getting a bigger piece of the pie, but it's been gradual. So we are definitely pretty scrappy. This is going through a collaboration that we had with a photographer called Guinevere Schuster. She was starting to get a lot of press for some dog photo booth photos that you guys might have seen, might look familiar, might not, depending how much you are a dog person. But she was starting to get, Huffington Post, BuzzFeed, CNN, Time Magazine, things like that. And we were kind of looking for something different and trying to break through and change the content, what we were doing a little bit. And we worked with her, met with her, and we also worked with Facebook's Creative Shop to kind of say, what can we do different? And we really based the whole conversation on what have we learned in the data. What's worked for Beggin in the past 3 years, what hasn't worked for Beggin in the past 3 years, what's worked for Purina and other brands and what hasn't, and kind of learn from that and how can we apply those learnings. And then also, it was really super important to find an influencer whose look, tone, feel fit the brands. Beggin's all about excitement and the crazy things your dog does. For when you rip open or shake a bag of Beggin, and if any of you have ever done that, everyone knows a dog goes apeshit for something like that, which is an amazing thing, and we're always trying to evoke that feeling. How do you evoke that craziness thing that makes you so happy watching your dog's tail go insane? So we saw the energy that Guinevere's photos were getting, and we kind of worked with Facebook's Creative Shop to work with her, talk to her, brief her, do a really quick one-day scrappy photo shoot in a basement warehouse, and applied all the learnings that we have acquired over 3 years, and it ended up being our Purina's most successful Facebook and Instagram campaign ever. I think you just saw the content for a second, but it wasn't about impressions, and it wasn't about getting the most buzz ever. It wasn't about getting the next deer kitten or the next puppyhood or anything like that. It was really about back to basics. working with Social Code, our social advertising agency, and Facebook's Creative Shop, and then our influencer to really like say, okay, what have we learned? What can we do that's a little different but sticks to what we know works, and measuring it. So making sure that everything we're doing, we can prove that it's impacting business objectives.
So is there a specific KPI, buzzword number 2, KPI that you look for, or does it kind of depend on the campaign? Is it is it views? Is it like a purchase intent, or is it anything in particular?
It depends on the campaign. So for the way we think of it is we apply measurement to everything we do. We kind of think if you can't measure it, it's not worth doing in social. And I know that probably puts a bad taste in some people's mouths, but that's kind of how our internal team thinks about it. So for any Facebook and Instagram campaign that's an awareness campaign, there's always a brand lift or brand effect study that's applied to it. And we work with Facebook and Social Code and our internal measurement team to make sure it all aligns. So for that, it was top of mind awareness, purchase intent, and I think general awareness, just to see, because we actually are not, we're number 1 in awareness, we're not number 1 in top of mind awareness for treats. So we always apply some sort of awareness equity, at least 3 KPIs for that. And then we have benchmarks across Purina and Nestle, and then general CPG that we're always trying to beat.
One of the KPIs wasn't just how happy the dog is after.
Like a WAG meter?
Just a WAG meter, yeah. I think you got to do something like that.
Right?
So,
we have, that's the thing, it's like Beggin'
that's
especially.
That's going to go to Cannes, I'm telling you. That's a Cannes line winning thing right there. Yeah.
Well, this was actually, so Nestle has its own competition, so this was actually entered into that. But did not win.
So I look at an example like Gatorade, for instance, where all cylinders go and everyone is, I'm guessing, cooperating. What are some of the pain points for you, Jeff? I'm looking in your direction. That, I'm not without necessarily naming specific examples, but is it in the creative process? Is it in the briefing process, as early as the briefing process, or is it in like the post-production or execution process? Where do things kind of hit speed bumps, and how are you able to iron those out?
I would say it's agency politics and it's production.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I'm in 2016. I don't have to pay what you tell me I have to pay in 2016 from a big agency. I come back from an agency background. I think clients are getting smarter to know that content production is becoming democratized. Some of the best content we've created has cost 50 grand, and we produce content from that range, from actual like long form 3 to 4 minute contents featuring competitive high school athletes, to the $1 million plus TV 30-second commercials we do. And I promise you, the way the industry is going, it's going to be a lot more of the former than it is the latter. So it's getting our agencies to understand that the world that we live in now is that we don't have to pay the typical agency style fee and markup after markup after markup to do great work. And we're not afraid to step outside of the traditional agency model to do great work. So that's one right there, and being clear in your ideals and that belief, and confident enough to stick to those ideals. The other one is the fact that we have a media agency or agencies, and that we have a above the line creative shop, a great agency in LA, TBWA Chiat, and then we have VML, a very strong digital agency in Kansas City, and then our PR agency. And obviously, like the way the world is going, certainly in this space, everything is starting to blur together. And I think what we say very clearly is, I don't care about your politics, I care about what's right for the business. So we're gonna say we're either trying to build the brand or we're trying to drive volume. And I think that's something that's really important for us in cutting through the bullshit, is that we say very clearly, this is the marketing objective, and this is how we're gonna go against delivering it. We assign very clear roles and responsibilities, and we expect our agencies to figure it out behind the scenes, and then come to us with a collaborative plan. And we don't even talk anymore about purchase intent. We talk about the specific equity metrics we're aiming to deliver, and removing any constraints of delivering volume against that, because we think it's gonna water down the work. Or we talk about how we're gonna drive actual measurable offline sales. So to Stacy's point, everything we do is measured, and we make sure that it has that very clear North Star in place. So once we've defined that, it gives us the freedom to say, here's the roles and responsibilities, here's the expectations from the clients, here's the clear KPI, you guys deliver great work. So that's the way we've cut through it, is by being transparent and direct, and setting clear expectations for everyone.
Great. Ron, correct me if I'm wrong. Are there questions that we're taking? Are we doing it right now or in a little bit? Oh, okay. Great. Excellent. Yes. Yes. I think it's one of those, like, if something, this is like, if something happens to pop up in mind, just grab someone with a microphone. Is there a question back there?
Just question.
Sure.
Who's going to get there first?
Race.
Yeah, I was curious. When creating these campaigns, there are so many different silos and different teams involved in making a successful campaign. I'm curious what you think. I'd love to hear what your biggest problems or issues with doing this are, and/or your newest solutions that seem to solve a lot of your issues.
One solution we've adopted this year at Purina is, or within my team, which is the feed, we've started collaborative social briefs. So when the brand's briefing us, we've started to include every partner that's going to have a role in this campaign. So that's our social advertising agency, that's the social platform, that's the designer, that's the person writing the copywriter, that's the measurement team, that's everybody that's the analytics team, everyone who's going to have a role in this to really get on the same page. So it's I really believe a bad brief is going to lead to a bad campaign, and if there's holes in the brief, or the brief is just not quite there yet, if you can get everybody together to ask those questions and get on the same page, by the time you get out of that call, it's led to a lot more alignment. Everyone's very clear on the role, what they owe, when, and what the task is, and what the role in it is. And for us, it's kind of ironed out a lot of kinks where you're totally right. A year ago, everybody was in their own silo, no one was communicating. And it kind of gets the brand visibility to that. But to your point, it's an hour of the brand's time, half hour of the brand's time, and then we all kind of execute behind closed doors. But for us, it's really helped to get everybody on the same page really quickly, and everyone knows exactly how to hit the ground running.
Oh, wait. I just get.
I have a loud mouth. I can talk it. I'm wondering, are you working directly with Snapchat and Facebook? Are you looping in your digital agency? And what are the pros and cons of going directly versus the agency?
Yes, we're doing both, and I encourage every client to have a direct relationship with the platforms, because otherwise you're at the mercy of the agencies. Like my job isn't to. We often say, and this isn't in an ego-driven way, but our agencies work for the brand. Our brand doesn't work for the agencies. So we should have as much education on the platforms as the partners do, but not cut them out. Like, it should be a completely collaborative role and expectation. I expect my media partners to know the media side even better than I do, to be able to educate me, but to make sure that I'm there as soon as we're learning something new, that we're going to Menlo Park to meet with Facebook, or we're going to Venice to meet with Snapchat. So we 100% have direct relationships, but it's completely collaborative. It's never, hey, let me pick up the phone and call Snapchat. Yeah, I'll tell my agency 3 days later.
I'll just add to that I know for many of our customers that proves very valuable when you don't understand that sometimes there's limits or edges in the platforms, and if you want to cross them, having a good relationship directly with the platform is really, really the most effective tool to get clearance, get sidetracked around something, get grandfathered into something else. So yeah, I highly encourage that behavior as well.
And there's you asked pros, cons. Pros, you're going to be smarter and more educated and more nimble, because you're able to speak to each of the platforms, and you should be building, frankly, at this point, content directly for each platform now versus a one-size-fits-all model. The cons, none for the client, a little bit more of your time. Cons for the agency is they have a little bit less power.
Yeah, I would totally agree. We have cut out the agency a little bit in our model of going in-house. We still have an agency handling our digital strategy, overarching. But we very much have direct relationships with the social platforms, and that has been probably the most valuable thing that we've done in the 3 years since this team has started. Because they don't only know what you do and what works on their platform, they also know, they see across brands, across verticals, what is working and what isn't. And they're really there to help you. And we've learned probably more from them and their creative shop and their strategists than anyone else. And I totally agree with Jeff that it does take away some of the agency's power. But at the end of the day, like Facebook, for instance, is a great partner. Like they want us to succeed as much as we want us to succeed, because we succeed, we spend more money on Facebook. It's only good for them. So they will do their damnedest to make sure that they're giving us the best insight and strategy they can and help us as much as possible. So that's proved extremely valuable for us.
How do you guys do it, Lauren?
Well, we are a much smaller company still than you guys, so we handle it in a lot of different ways. As far as Yup goes, we work very closely, very collaboratively with Onion Labs, and so a lot of that promotion and that kind of interaction with the platform on a kind of ad side of things goes through our agency, whereas maybe smaller things, like smaller choices we want to make, we'll still handle on our own. So it's a very case-by-case basis, but as we are still quite a small company, we are relying on our agencies to a certain extent.
But I will say that you'd mentioned just focusing on a platform, and we just, with our relationship with Facebook, we took that and ran with it. And another, yet fourth shameless plug for Facebook, I mean, they are a great partner, and they helped us in by association help Yup to do some cool stuff just by focusing on optimizing the Facebook audience. And I think we have a video there to show like what we did, but we just focused on Facebook rather than getting into TV and all that other stuff. Just like focus on Facebook, build a Facebook audience, and it worked really well for a completely starter brand.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is this what we...
Our lives are so go, go, go that we've forgotten what's in here, here, and here. Well, now it's time to remember. It's time to take action. It's time to set your clocks to nothing hour. Am I right? So my friends, go crazy on your phones. Do cool junk you actually want to do for an hour. You're doing it! It's happening! Nothing is happening! Let's make nothing hour the best something or nothing it can be. Keep it up, people!
So that all this nothing content that we've created now just is housed on Facebook as the hub. There's no like there is a microsite that exists for Yup, but it is all the primary contact point for the youth of America is that Facebook page. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Facebook was definitely our initial focus. It just was a friendly place to really start building awareness for what this brand is, which is fun, encouraging you to, take time out for yourself, have a reward, have a nothing hour, and do nothing, which is always a little bit of something. And that entire idea came with a lot of back and forth with the Onion, who are the best at what they do. They're creative, they're funny, and we had a brand who really wanted to tap into that. And that collaboration was really key to the success that we've had on Facebook, which we're not even fully nationally launched yet, and we're at 105,000 followers on Facebook, which we're really pleased with.
And that's where this world is going, right? Like the ability to produce high quality, more nimbly, and leverage the studio capabilities inside of every publisher that are doing this day in and day out across categories. And I had a funny conversation with a buddy at a particular agency who has one of the big studios, and I said, how much will you guys create this year? And he goes, about a dozen things. He goes, how much will you guys do? And I said, about 250 campaigns and 1,200 pieces of content. He was like, what the it's like, and we're doing it across every category, and so the opportunity to create production efficiencies, to your point before, is huge. There's there's names that went up on that board that are being leveraged by publishers, by agencies, and by the brands, all on behalf of the brand. It's crazy that there's not efficiencies there, or that in the media brief I'm not receiving who the production crews are, right? So that when we decide to outsource because the person who can shoot a car is different than who can shoot a burger laydown and so on and so forth, that there's people that already know the brand so well that my studio can go teach the Thrillist audience and oversee, but actually go leverage those people to create on behalf of the brand too. And so these worlds are coming full cycle, but it takes communication, and it takes a dropping of the egos, which we should be very honest about hasn't happened, right?
Yeah, I think if we think about even one layer below that, so we do a lot of our work, it's that, that silent campaign that's always going on, that your customers are creating millions of pieces of content every day, maybe hundreds of millions of pieces that your brand's involved in, your brand's inspired. If you don't like the tone of that conversation, you should change it, right? You should work with the customers to drive it towards where you want it. But there is an even larger untapped opportunity, and some of that means curating from it, right? Finding great moments. Some of it is really inspiration. It's handing it to a studio, saying these kinds of moments, these 5 or 6 right here, there's something really interesting going on here. Like, take a stab at that, right? We see that as a really powerful way, though, to sort of even find new ideas and sort of bring more of the consumer into the fold as well.
It must be fun when you're talking about working with influencers. That's one thing I'm kind of very intrigued by the idea of influencers. Just the democratization of celebrity is very interesting from like a sociological like aspect, that anyone can, with like an Instagram account and an awesome filter, can be paid by. I mean, I have a friend who's just like takes, you know, I think it was like just like sandwiches is their Instagram account, and they have like 23,000 followers or something, and they're like, oh yeah, I'm getting swag and getting paid by so and so to do this and that. I just find it interesting, but there's also something interesting about the relatability of the audience and the consumer to those influencers.
Yeah.
Do you find that in your work?
Yeah, quite a bit. So just before I started Shoot, I was at another company called Clout, and I was the first employee there. Launched a campaign business there as well with the team. And so I've been doing a lot of influence work for a long time now. We actually just launched our own Clout Score, sort of, but for visual creators, because we think there's a lot more dimensionality to, or sort of, there's more complexity in being successful as a visual influencer than there is in sort of like a text-based one. And so there are different personalities and personas, and sometimes it's relatability, sometimes it's inspiration, sometimes it's aspiration, right? If you look at each network, you could value them by what they actually bring people to the table for. Maybe it's communication, maybe it's inspiration, maybe it's passion. The people who are successful there, maybe that's the string you're trying to pull right now, right? And so it becomes not a channel strategy or a platform strategy. It becomes like a community and people strategy instead, right? And so if we start to think outside of those conversations, the influencers start to make a lot more sense. A lot of them are overly entitled, and I highly recommend ignoring a lot of them, just because we find with our customers' work, they never actually incentivize any of their customers to create content. They do it all for free because they're passionate about the brand. When I was at Clout, made the same recommendations. Don't go for anyone who really wants to be an influencer, right? Because you're going to get all the douchey stuff that comes with that pretty quickly.
Did you guys see there was I think it was like Scott Disick or something like that?
Oh, yeah.
He had, he had like directly copied and pasted the from his from his agents or whoever.
Oh, right,
into his like Instagram or something like that. Do you know what happened? It was just like, it said like, please paste this into your Instagram post, and that was like literally what he had posted. Like, I'm so excited for whatever brand it was. It's just clearly he's so invested in the brand.
Yeah.
He's like so pouring his heart and soul out for that brand.
It's so important though, the personal connection, the idea that you're out there paying people to say a certain thing. We see it too when you have people come to events and stuff, and you get these reports back, and it's like 86% of engagement came from bots, and you're like, what the hell does that mean?
Yeah.
Right? Like, there's a business being made here. Don't forget that. And oftentimes that means there's weird things being done behind the scenes. You shouldn't forget that either. And so the idea that, like, to your point, that you're going after people that actually know the brand, that have a passion for the brand, that seem to be doing the brand justice in the way that you want and representing the brand you want, is an opportunity to go really deep. And I go back to like my L'Oreal days, right? Like Michelle Phan was exactly that, right, for the brands. And Zombie Boy was exactly that for Dermablend, and so on and so forth. And so there were opportunities to have really natural conversations. You see these networks being built where it's just dumping money into things that don't necessarily make sense, that feel good, but behind the scenes, it's fake, right?
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, I think it still has to be a manual identification process. I think that's like there are a million tools out there that promise to find the right influencers for you, and they can get paid in pennies for promoting your brand. And like for us, it's always been a manual identification process. It's always a community manager in those communities figuring out who are our advocates, who love us. You know, 1 in every 10 pet owner has a social account for their pet. Like there are.
I got to start that.
Instagram is a treasure trove of dog and cat accounts who want to work with a pet food company, which is wonderful, but it's also trying to weed through the noise and figure out who's actually a true advocate of your brand. But it's also very powerful for us because, you know, what food you feed your pet is a really big decision for a lot of people. And there's a lot of nutrition things. It depends who you are, but some people take that very, very seriously, and that third-party recommendation is extremely valuable, much more valuable than if it ever came from us. So choosing those influencers who truly love our brand, truly feed our brand, and truly can speak for our brand in an authentic way that's impactful, it's there. You have to make sure you're choosing those people right, in the right way.
Right. Great. I think we are opening up to questions. Or Eric, if you want to.
We have time for one final question. So if anybody has a question,
that's a lot of pressure. Wow.
They would like to throw out there, you can see a hand. Otherwise, we'll start to wrap this up. All right. I don't see any hands, so I would like to everybody give a round of applause to these guys. Thank you guys for coming and sharing your ideas and thoughts today. We have the Chili's thing is going up on there, so you'll see that. You can take a picture of it on your phone. That's all you need. Go to Chili's, get a margarita, help off the street club. Also, don't forget to submit your award nominations and check out the events page in general. We've got so many fun events coming up. Very exciting. And that's it. Thank you guys for coming.